Hey yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm with one of the homies called Electric Athlete. We're basically just gonna be talking about all the impressive feats from Sasuke Uchiha from part one. I feel like even though Sasuke is well known, I feel like there's a few things that people just kind of just overlook, and we're gonna be going through all of that from the very beginning to the very end of part one. So, in other words, right to the end of the Naruto and Sasuke fought in part one. That's where we're gonna go. We're gonna be covering all of that feats, statements, data books, manga, practically just everything. And with all of that, we can get started. Before we actually truly get started, you want to say anything, Electric, or not?
Not really.
Alright, guys. So first, we're gonna be talking about like the very first like fight in general. So that would be Haku and Sabuza versus Team Seven in this circumstance. A lot of people love to say that Sasuke was able to react to so-called light speed Haku. What's your opinion on that?
Well, it's stated multiple times that like Haku is holding back, and actually at this point, when uh Sasuke actually goes and intercepts Haku, she should be like drained from a lot of chakra. And then immediately after, we see like Sasuke mention like how he's like did it based off like reaction speed and like he didn't really think it through. He just his body moved on its own, meaning that like he could have been mentally amped in that moment when he dodged or intercepted Haku.
Believe he was like mentally ill. So like you don't, in other words, you don't believe that he should technically be FTL or speed of light like very first arc, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He,
Which is
he's like
yeah, continue.
in the tuning exams, like a bit later on, we see him dodge sound, and at that moment he should be like sound speed of sound level, but I don't think he's the speed of light this early on.
This early on. After that, right, we have like the he should be somewhat pretty fast at this point in time, but a little bit after the fight with Haku, we should come up to like the tuning exams, and when it comes down to the tuning exams, what do you think like he should scale to, like relative to, equal to, above?
Well, it's stated that like he's Gaara's strongest opponent actually, and Gaara himself should scale like above Lee without his weights, and it's also stated that Gaara's speed is he's like as fast as Lee without his weights. So like tuning exam Sasuke without like Chidori should like scale above Lee, and then with Chidori, you could argue he could even scale above like partially transformed Gaara, which is like should be definitely way above normal Gaara in base. And normal Gaara is stated to be like the strongest person in his village. So he scales pretty high there.
Yeah, so like even from the very beginning of like the manga or anime, whatever way you want to say, Sasuke Uchiha should just be recognized as just a complete beast, right? And another thing we also know is that we had a Orochimaru who honestly just wanted Sasuke not only because he can clearly see potential, another reason was because he was a Uchiha. In other words, he had like the Sharingan, which complete like I think anyone that knows anything about Naruto knows that clearly the Sharingan obviously gives you some pretty wicked abilities like Tsusanome, Amaterasu, Precog, and so many other things, right? So even from the beginning, we know that he has so much potential, and we eventually see this later on, just having all those type of feats he eventually has. And I think that's pretty damn impressive. Like even after you want to look after like a little bit after the tuning exams, and we have like the Sasuke retrieval arc when we actually get more into like course mark 1 state and course mark 2 state, which is stated like multiple times to be making you way more stronger. We even have that one statement from one of the Sound Force saying that course mark 2 is supposed to give you a 10 times multiplier. So overall, it's like part one Sasuke should be just a complete beast. And let me ask you a question about Course Mark One. How much stronger do you think like Course Mark One gets compared to like base? Because it was actually never stated the multiplier for Course Mark One, only for Course Mark Two.
Yeah, so Curse Mark 2, we see him, it's stated a 10 times amp by Jirobo, right? But Curse Mark 1, like you said, it's never stated. So if you were just to go off like feats, in Curse Mark 1, he like doesn't perform it that much better than he does in base. Like we could see Curse Mark One Sasuke like slap around Naruto in the Valley of the End, and then he takes off the curse mark, and then Naruto gets like the QB amp, and he's still reacting to that Naruto. So I don't think it should be like that big of an amp, but it should still be like maybe like a two times multiplier.
So like bare minimum, you think it should be like a two times multiplier, bare minimum?
Yeah, for sure. It's not like that big of an amp, but it's definitely an amp.
Yeah. So like, back to like what you said about like him being able to like what's it called fight Naruto at like the valley. Honestly, I think I'm not the only one that honestly believes that this was probably one of the most impressive and one of the most hype fights of like all the time in like the entire Naruto series. We have like what's it called just base Naruto and base Sasuke making this huge explosion right from the very beginning. And then after you have him going course mark one, immediately just blitzing the absolute f out of like Naruto, kicks him in the face, sends him flying. Like what's your opinion on that? Like what's your view?
I think actually this is like Sasuke right at this moment is probably one of the strongest characters in part one. Like we could see him scale like above Naruto with his like Kyuubi cloak, and we know at this point like Naruto already scales above like Shikaku with his like Gamma Bunta and all this crazy stuff. Like Naruto at this point should probably be like one of the strongest characters in part one, if not the strongest character, along with Sasuke, which is scale above this Naruto.
hmm And like even like Sasuke, like even after you have like what's it called, you get like after like Naruto gets a little bit of like a QB Chakra amp, you see two Tomai, Sharingan Sasuke to get blitzed. Immediately gets three Tomai. He's able to react, and he even before that, like he completely penetrates Naruto. Like in Course Mark One, he should just flat out scale above. And then, as I said before, he gets like that QB Chakra ramp. He starts blitzing. Sasuke eventually gets his three Tomai. Eventually explains that like he's finally able to like precog. What's your opinion on that? Like his like precog, I guess you can say, and him being able
Yeah,
to react to like QB amp Naruto.
like the second Sasuke actually gets his or awakens his three Tomoe Sharingan, he states that like Naruto can't put a scratch on him, and he's casually like dodging Naruto left and right when before he was like struggling, and we could see like him like getting a huge precog amp where he's like seeing Naruto before he moves, and it's like at this point like Sasuke gets like a huge amp in like his combat speed or like in terms of like including his precog, he should be able to like react to like this amp Naruto, which like was able to beat Neji in his fight with in the during the tuning exams.
hmm And one thing I really find impressive is like you got the Chorus Mark Two. Chorus Mark Two say I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that's a lot of people's favorite form. Just like the basic design for Sasuke. I think in my opinion this looks badass. But main point I think it's pretty impressive because the second he does go Chorus Mark Two state, you have uh, Naruto going Cloak One, goes for the shot, Mans easily reflects it with his wing, and he sends him flying. That's how much of a boost he got from there. And then you got like the classic black Shidori. You have like Naruto going with his Sengun, instantly colliding, making another huge explosion. Like, what's your opinion on that? Like, that's like power wise.
Oh yeah, like we could see like Naruto getting like Sasuke getting destroyed in like even Curse Mark One, like he gets knocked back meters away, and then after the second he awakens Curse Mark Two, he's casually like slapping away Naruto. So he gets a huge ampere, and like you mentioned, this form looks badass. One of the best forms ever, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Definitely. Like even after like they can collide, they make like a huge explosion. There's like the sense of them kind of both flying. If you look at the image here, it looks like they're both on like the flyaway. You see this huge image. You see the bond, like sounding like the disconnect here. I honestly just find it so impressive. Like specifically this like power wise. And the funny thing is like the second this happens, you see Naruto like on the ground, and you just see Sasuke, and he's like, alright, and he just walks away. And as we know, Kakashi eventually comes and picks up Naruto, and Naruto goes like through all that training and whatever, and then we lead that for part two. But main point on like this video itself, and it's like moment, it's just so impressive, especially with like Shidori. As we know, Shidori is specifically supposed to amp up your speed. So even Cloak One Naruto still matching that. That also makes Naruto like in Cloak One still very much impressive. Like it's pretty amazing, especially like part one. Sasuke is even known as like a prodigy throughout even just the simple tuning exams multiple times. Sasuke has a Sharingan and so many other things that should just hype him up even more to be one of the greatest, which is we eventually see in like Boruto series when he's eventually one of the strongest shinobi of all time. But main point in part one, he definitely has some pretty impressive statements, feats. You have anything else you want to add, or when it comes to these feats and statements?
Yeah, like when he gets Curse Mark 2, he actually learns a new form of Chidori. He learns the Onyx Chidori. And this Chidori is able to like casually like clash and like overpower Naruto's Rasengan when like the previous Chidori just like canceled each other out. So he definitely gets like a huge amp, and this like Curse Mark 2 actually teaches him new forms when he couldn't before. Like they also gives him the wings so he can fly now too. Like just Curse Mark 2 Sasuke is just impressive.
Yeah, like even when it comes to like his impressiveness in a sense, even when you look at like the second data book, you have some pretty nice statements just about like the Uchiha and how he's supposed to be like a genius and overall, and then you have like a photos of him with the course mark one, so you got a little bit of like explanation of the course marks and how he really wanted this power overall, which he obviously showed just like in part two later on. But main point, he should just be extremely powerful, especially knowing he's like usually like I guess even in a sense you can kind of say like he's somewhat mentally amped because he's always like what's it called? He's always going for like Itachi, and that's like further explained in like the second data book and stuff. Like,
Mm.
what's your opinion on that? Like all those different statements you saw from the second data book.
Oh yeah, like I believe there's also another statement that says like he exceeds the limits of like a genin. So like Sasuke here, he's definitely really strong, even in base, even before we take out the curse mark into consideration. He should
Hmm.
already be like one of the strongest there is in like like in the whole part one verse, pretty much.
Pretty much. Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you on that. Like, there's a lot of things that goes in Sasuke's favor. Like even, like we already said before, like the Sharingan. Like Sharingan allows you to predict movements. In other words, you get precog, you get genjutsu, you're able to copy abilities. Like he does to like Rock Lee. He was able to copy Rock Lee's speed. Eventually on, he copies it. Like it's like resembles him. He's able to copy Rock Lee's movements, which he eventually uses in like the tuning exams to win his very first fight. But like main overall, like Sasuke was a beast from the very start of the show. Like even when you want to look at like his stats that are stated in like the second data book here, what's it called? Even like in ninjutsu 3.5, taijutsu 2.5, like even like when it comes to Genjutsu, even if you want to consider 1.5 kind of low, I think he kind of makes it up just like stat wise, plus with all the course marks. Overall, he should just be a complete badass. Even speed wise, you already know he has the Shidori, which even gives him a greater speed amp. And like you said before, even in the tuning exams, he should be closer to like what's called weightless Walk Lee. In common sense, like doing the tuning exams compared to the very last arc of the part one Naruto, he should most likely be way stronger than he is now. So like you can probably even make the argument that he should even be above like Walkley's weightless Walkley and base maybe. You should probably make that argument if you really chose to. Like overall, he's just like complete. He's a complete beast in part one, and I feel like some of these statements are just kind of like overlooked. But main point, I think we got everything down here. Do you want to add
Oh,
anything else?
I think we covered pretty much everything.
See what's everything. I think that'll be it for the video, guys. Thank you for guys for watching. We're gonna be making a second part. We're gonna be covering all of part two, Sasuke, in a later video. I'm gonna be covering all his feats and statements, just like this one. I'm gonna bring in some data book statements from the third one, data book statements from the fourth one, maybe some few novel statements. We make it jam packed, just like we did for this one. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, drop me that like, and I also made a brand new Discord server. The link for it will be in the description down below. Make sure to go join that real quick. Uh, Thank you, Electric Athlete, for joining the video. I really appreciated it. You want to say anything before I turn it off?
Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, remember. Thank you guys. Bye.
and see you guys later.